Dave.
Ian. Ignore the mess behind me, Ian. That's all camera video stuff. Don't look at here. I'll sit over here.
Well.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, someone seems to be quite proud of themselves. Yeah. Do you have you need to be wearing suspenders so you can put your yeah.
Uh-huh. And I'm going to have my elbows out and I'm going to go like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. A jaunty walk.
Pretty proud of myself right now. I actually injured myself patting myself on the back so much over the last week.
Yeah, you had to pop an ibuprofen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Why are you so happy with yourself, Ian?
Well, listeners may remember that last week on the show, I described my planes, trains, and automobiles situation getting from Minneapolis to Oklahoma City, and that there was an issue with the rental car situation that left me without a rental car while I was in Oklahoma City and witnessing someone getting arrested for trying to steal a rental car.
From the rental agency lot. Yes.
Yes. So I was due to leave Oklahoma City on Thursday, the 18th of July.
Okay.
I got to the airport on time to see that my connecting flight to Houston was delayed. So I was going OKC to Houston to Minneapolis.
Okay. Kind of a little bit of a southern dip, but okay.
Yep. But it was, I'm flying on United, and so there's only so many hubs or whatever. So it's either Houston or Denver out of Oklahoma City. And the schedule worked out. I was going to the Houston. So my flight to Houston is delayed to the point where it's landing at the same time the other one's taking off. It was almost the exact same time, within 2 minutes. So obviously I'm not going to make it.
And since it's illegal to walk out of the plane across one wing and onto the wing of another plane and into that airplane.
And they just stop on the taxiway and let me... Yeah.
Yes, like divorced parents handing off a toddler in a Costco parking lot.
Exactly. That's how it should be.
Right.
Yeah, that wasn't going to fly. So, and I have gotten delayed in Houston before and had to find a hotel near the Houston airport. And it sucks. It sucks. And I didn't want to do it. And so I was like, I'm going to avoid this at all costs. So
okay.
I spent a bunch of time I was that person, spending a bunch of time at the ticket counter, being like, please I don't want to spend the night in Houston. I want to go home. I just want to get back to my family, whatever.
Right. What are the options?
Right. And so we exhausted all the United options. And then I was like, well, how about other airlines? They're like, well, we can't do that. You have to call a reservation. I was like, well, then you could have told me that 45 minutes ago. That would have been helpful. So I walk over to the edge of the airport and I'm on the phone with reservations. Meanwhile, I remembered our conversation previously.
Yes. Go ahead and recap that for anybody who missed it.
The conversation previously was, when you have a delayed flight, what's the over-under on just getting in the car and fucking driving?
Right. Just starting the drive the second you realize this is going different than the plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. And I got on the phone with reservations people and I was going back and forth. They kept trying to get me to Houston. I don't know why. They were like, well, there's no other flights from Houston. I was like, I don't want to go to Houston.
We see here you're a huge Scarface fan. Yeah. We're going to send you to his hometown.
Send me anywhere other than Houston, please. I don't can you get me to Denver? Because I know there's a flight from Denver to Minneapolis and that has seats on it. Can you get me there in time? And they just could not. They were like, well, there's no flights from Houston to Denver. I'm not in Houston. My God, I don't want to go to Houston. I never want to be in Houston. Please stop. And so while I'm having this phone conversation, I'm hovering over the
confirm reservation button.
Confirm reservation button for the rental car, for the one-way rental that I'm about to take, because it's according to Google, it's 11 and a half hours between Oklahoma City and Minneapolis airports.
Yeah, that's Google speed. It's about 9 and change Ian speed.
Yeah. And so it was very clear that this reservation person was not going to be helping me and that I was going to be stuck in Houston.
Real quick, what time of day was this happening?
This was at about 3:00 in the afternoon.
Okay, 3:00 in the afternoon. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
About 2 hours before my flight was supposed to take off, but it was going to be delayed by like 3 hours, 3 additional hours.
Right.
So 3:00 in the afternoon.
Yes.
And so by the time I got the rental car, I like hung up. I was like, just cancel my flight. So I ended up like being positive on money. I mean, my company was paying for it, but like the whole thing ended up being positive on money because they canceled my flight, and then I rented the car for about a third of the cost of my plane ticket.
Okay.
And I just started driving north. So, for geography buffs out there, it's just I-35 connects the two cities.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's one of those, like, you can go 700 miles, but you only truly make like 4 turns.
Exactly. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just did it, and I called my wife and told her what the plan was, and she was like, I don't think that's a good idea. You should probably just stay where you are and like fly home tomorrow. I was like, nope. Ready to be home.
We're doing this. You're doing a burnout in the parking lot of the rental car company.
Yep. I ended up getting a Mustang. I got a Mustang with cooled seats, which I think is like the best possible scenario for doing this exact thing.
Yeah.
And so I left the parking lot of the rental car place right around 4 p.m.
Okay.
And I rolled into my sister's house in St. Paul at 2:30 a.m. It was actually 2:25. So I made a real good time.
Yeah, you did.
And then the next morning, so that was basically Friday morning.
Uh-huh.
The 19th of July. And so I woke up the next morning, and Jenny was in bed next to me on her phone, like scrolling through Facebook or whatever. And I didn't have contacts or glasses on.
Uh-huh.
And so I can't really see what she's clicking on, or, I can't really see what she's doing. But as I was like kind of waking up and looked over, I saw she clicked on something with the CrowdStrike logo on it. And I was like, that can't be good.
Why are you clicking on that?
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, what? Oh no, what has happened?
Did the royal family buy CrowdStrike? Like, that's the only thing I could think of that Jenny would click on that. Yeah.
No, I thought it was going to be something catastrophic, and it was.
Yeah.
Because Friday morning was when all the CrowdStrike stuff like blew up, and so I look like a fucking genius because I would still be stuck in Houston.
Yeah.
2 days later, for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that, you ducked out. So when it was getting close to like your flight time, like the delay, it was, when would it have turned in Australia? Because that was the first indication.
Is that what it was?
I think the Australian time zone cut over for the day. And I think it was like really a follow the sun IT outage.
Okay. Yeah, I figured it happened like as I was driving.
Yeah, while you were making the drive. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, like, because there wouldn't have been any rental cars. Like, It would have been crazy.
It would have been one of those scenarios where like people are like banding together and like, right? Yeah, making friends with strangers, which I know you love.
Yep. Man, I got so lucky.
Yeah.
And I was insufferable for the next 24 hours. Because I was just, to Jenny, I was just like, hey, I mean, you doubted me.
This guy?
And my thing that I kept saying was, look whose specific brand of idiocy finally paid off.
Right? It did. Ian. I love it.
I like the best timing of my life. The only thing that's ever gone that well for me ever. Like, ridiculous.
Yeah. I think that we can look back on like our careers, our lives, and like recognize some things where like we truly had a lucky break. right? And I'm very thankful to have a few of those, right? And I think that this is definitely something that, could have waylaid you for another 3 days, man. I mean,
definitely.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I mean, to have a victory like this in a marriage, oh my God. Like I'm going to be coasting on this one for 15, 20 years. Like
this whole marriage scorecard is something that I still does not compute in my relationship with my wife. Like, yeah. But it makes sense for you and Jenny because I've seen you play Boggle. So,
yeah. Where there's been some light stabbings.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I do like that. That's now going to be your go-to.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
Anytime she doubts me on anything. Should I cut this onion with the grain or against the grain? Well, remember the last time you doubted me.
Oklahoma to Minneapolis.
So anyway, that was awesome.
Well done, Ian. Well done making the move, like putting yourself in a position where like you trusted your gut, you followed a hunch. Worst case scenario in that situation, the plane would have landed at your home before you could have driven there, right? And so worst case scenario, you were going to be out like maybe 2-3 hours at the most. At the most.
I was slated to get in at like 11:50.
Yeah.
So I was 2.5 hours in the negative if the flight had somehow miraculously happened on time.
Exactly.
And there's no way it would have. So yeah, it seemed like a pretty good gamble at the time.
Have you looked back to see when those flights like would have actually gone and when you could have truly gotten back?
I did.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm very curious if you could piece together that information.
Well, but I was going to be. I was going to be on standby on a flight in the morning.
Oh, yeah. No, that's not good.
They were going to fly me Friday morning.
Yeah, but then it turns out no one was flying Friday morning, except Southwest, motherfuckers.
Yeah, because they run on floppy drives and.
And we'll get more about that later, thanks to Dana. But but no, you're exactly that legacy IT shit that they have, like actually like kept them going because apparently CrowdStrike doesn't make a client that runs on freaking OS2 Warp or is compiled in COBOL. You know,
you can't cloud update an Abacus, motherfuckers.
I'm sorry, we don't have a 16-bit client. So wild. Well done, dude. Way to follow a hunch. And
it was our conversation ringing into my ears about from the last time.
Yeah,
we had talked about this like the night before all that happened.
Right. Yeah, so we recorded Wednesday night, right? Maybe Tuesday night. Yeah. And then I put up the audio on Thursday night. I forgot to hit publish on the YouTube and you reminded me. So it went live at like noon on Friday. Yeah. And that's what, like, we were talking about that exact scenario. And here you are like driving, like as that audio episode goes live.
Definitely.
Yeah. Ian, wow.
It was a good time. And you know what? It was an easy drive. Like
I was going to ask you, I wanted to dig into that. Yeah. Like, so run me through, like, were you like podcasting? Were you albuming? What was the intake?
I did listen to quite a bit of, I listened to some music. I listened to a bunch of news podcasts. And then I did listen to one of the things that sustained me was Rage. Because I listened to the last night of the RNC for like for a good chunk of it because it ended like at like 1 a.m. So I mean, by the time it ended, I was an hour from St. Paul. So
and it was in Minneapolis, right?
No, it was in Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, that's it. Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I listened to that going like, what the fuck is this?
See, I don't
the
know
whole
how
time.
you can subject yourself to that, but I guess if it's that or falling asleep behind the wheel, then yeah, you're making a good choice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really, I had a bunch of Red Bulls and
Uh-huh.
annoying political talk and a big thing of sunflower seeds and I just all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you go for the flavored sunflower seeds when you're on the road trip? Nope, just
No.
straight salt roasted. Okay. Gotcha. I'll go dill pickle if I can find them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know why. Yeah. That's the only time I ever eat. It's those things like there's foods that you only ever eat on road trips, like a Charleston
Yeah.
chew,
Right. Yeah. Mine are Snickers. I don't have Snickers bars ever in my life.
I was going to say, you don't have
Snickers bar
sweet things generally. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I'll do a Snickers bar on a road trip.
Okay.
That's about it.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. This is for listeners, this is from the man that told me you could never have another piece of candy in your entire life and be just fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which is,
if I walked into the store thinking like, hey, I'm going to get a Snickers and they didn't have Snickers, I would walk out empty-handed. That's fine.
You wouldn't go Milky Way, Three Musketeers, Twix. You wouldn't. Wow. Huh.
No.
You're a real interesting guy. I gotta tell you. I love that we've known each other, what, 10 years now? Yeah. And we're still unpacking some stuff. There's still little surprises to be found in this little treasure trove of Ian.
Honestly, I don't get what the big deal is about candy. Why people have such struggle. Like, it's not that great.
It's like the greatest thing in the world. People don't write songs about I want pretzels. Dun, 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 dun.
I want the literal spit take, everybody.
I want spinach. No, Ian. No.
Fair.
Yeah. Oh,
good,
man.
Good point.
Oh, buddy. Yeah. This Ian that I got in front of me, I'm very thankful for you, Ian. I'm thankful for a bunch of stuff in my life, and you are absolutely one of those things. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. The feeling is mutual.
Boy. Okay.
We did it. Okay. What about? We both did some racing stuff this last week.
Yes. Let's talk about, besides you like white knuckling, listening to RFK Jr. talk crazy stuff. Yeah, give me the rundown of your track day, because you did a track day with your father.
I did.
Yeah.
So my dad is an instructor with the Gary Curtis driving experience. I'll put this in the talkabouts.
Okay. Yeah.
The link to the Gary Curtis driving experience. I met Gary. He's great. He's a really cool guy.
Okay.
So they have a track that they use in kind of like suburban Minneapolis area.
Okay.
It's in Dakota County. And they use it for like training law enforcement and other emergency people. Like it's one of those kinds of tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really tight and narrow.
Yeah.
But so my dad was instructing this weekend. And so I went with and signed up as like a driver. He signed me up and put me in the advanced group, even though I've never been there before.
Okay.
So I went there and everyone was super nice. This event is really cool the way they structure this. So you sign up for a track day and then there are tons of instructors there.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a really cheap way to get like good instruction. They don't do a lot of focus on like lap time or anything like that. It's more about like driving basics and that sort of thing.
Like car control clinic stuff?
So some of that, but this is more, so they do have those courses as well.
Okay.
They have like, this is more like track day, but like learning how to just drive on a track,
Okay.
So like learning about braking points, learning about being smooth and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
But so they had probably 10 15 instructors there.
Oh wow, okay, that's really cool.
And
okay,
you could just grab one. So
yeah,
you could sign up for one, and you'd be paired with somebody if you're like in the novice group.
yeah.
But then if you just saw one standing around, they all had the same shirts on. You just like grab one, and be like, "Hey, hop in with me."
Okay.
Which is really cool. And then so when we first got there, their lead instructor. So go to the staff page.
Okay.
Their lead instructor is Alejandro.
Oh, Alejandro. Okay.
Super cool guy. He drove with my dad in the Maserati a couple of times.
Okay.
Very experienced race car driver. But he takes people out for like sighting laps in one of like the police interceptor explorers.
Yes. Okay.
And so I get in the back. So there's four of us in there. So someone in the front, 3 in the back. I'm on one side, and then there's another person on the other side, and someone in the middle. And we're the first ones out. And like I can just kind of like, he says it's just a sighting lap or whatever, but I'm definitely putting my seatbelt on.
Right.
And the guy in the middle is, I think, like doesn't want to like do the butt touch, the
right.
butt.
Yeah. Yeah, the stranger butt touch to somebody that he's sitting next to, right? To really get the belt thing out, to put the belt in, yeah.
And I offer to like get one cheek sneak it a little bit, to like let him get in there.
You folks are missing stuff if you're only listening to audio. You're missing it.
Yeah, I'll do it all.
Getting up on one cheek for the podcast, yeah.
But I was like, "Are you sure you don't?" I said to him, "Are you sure you don't want your seatbelt on?" And he was like, "No, I'm good." And I'm like, "Okay," because I think this dude's about to fucking send it. And oh my god, he went around even on the outlap. It was like, oh god, that's a corner we're not making. Because we're like 4 miles off the ground,
right?
And man, he fucking sends that.
Okay.
Like sends it over the curve, like the whole thing, and calmly talking the whole time.
See, that's so amazing.
And he's got that like super smooth driving style, but carries just so much speed through every corner.
Okay.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was great.
Nice. Nice.
So then I drove around. I got to drive my dad's Alfa Romeo Quadrifoglio.
Yes.
So I got more track time to that.
Uh-huh.
And man, that car is ridiculous. It's so fast. He had just got new tires on it.
Okay.
And yeah, it was a blast. So I went around with my dad a few times, and then he was like, "You're gonna make me sick. I'm getting out."
Uh-huh.
And then he went and did his instruction, and I just like carried on all day. And man, there was like one session in particular, like the second from the end, where like I just got into a rhythm on the track and like just started reeling people in, like reeling in Corvettes, and like it was a blast. It's been so long since I've gotten to do anything like that.
Dude, that's so good, because I think that's one thing about you being away for the summer that we were both kind of like really down about, was that you wouldn't be able to get some seat time. You weren't going to be able to dual drive the Nuggie with me, lemon stuff, yeah. Right? But yeah, good. I'm so thankful you were able to get out there.
Yes, me too.
That's so great.
The one thing that was bad, the one bad thing that happened is that the last session, I went out, I was like, man, this thing it doesn't feel as sweet as it did this morning a little bit. And I missed missed a breaking point. I was like, that breaking point has not changed all day. Because that's the other thing about this car. It was so consistent. Like I had to adjust tire pressures a little bit here and there. But man, especially under the brakes on that car are just absurd. Even he has the steel brakes, doesn't have the carbon ones.
Okay.
Man, the brakes are good. And they need to be. Because the car's so fast. But then right at the end, something changed. And it was just like it wasn't like a progression of like, hey, I'm starting to lose.
Like you're slowly boiling brake fluid.
Right. It was just like, something's different.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to cool things down, see if that fixes it. I did one more lap, didn't fix it. I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Okay.
So I don't want to break anything.
Yeah.
And everything was fine. And then I checked in with my dad. We talked about the track and blah, blah, blah. I talked with Alejandro for a bit. And then I drove home. I started driving back. And as the temperatures started coming down, then I heard grinding from the rear brakes.
Oh, no. Okay.
So what happened was the brake pads that my dad has on those, they don't support the brake wear sensor thing. So the brake light is always on. Like the brake warning light is always on because it doesn't see
the sensors. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if you remember, but one of the last, so I've had a string of track days that have not happened. Right.
Right.
For going back over a year now. I was supposed to drive that car with him at High Plains.
That's right.
But he went through a set of brakes at High Plains in like half a day.
Right. Right.
And had to like drive to Boulder it was like a whole thing. For whatever reason, I didn't realize that he had only done the front pads then.
Oh, okay.
And so I gave the rear pads the Viking funeral.
Yes, you did.
But it was amazing. Like there was no noise. There was no like warning. And it wasn't even like I could have kept going.
Yeah.
I just adjusted my braking distance because they still felt good. The pedals still felt fine.
Okay.
It was just I had less braking performance than I did before.
Okay.
And I just I noticed it. And the first time I thought like, oh, I made a mistake.
Sure.
And it wasn't that. It was like, well, I didn't have any real brakes anymore.
Turns out that they do put brakes on all four corners for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was wild, like how it was just a cliff. There was no warning at all.
That's wild. Yeah. Did you get down to the metal on the pad surface, or do you think like it just?
I don't know. My dad had to go out of town, so I'm sure we'll take it apart as soon as he gets back. But,
okay. Yeah. Send a picture of the pads. I want to see how well you cooked it.
I will. Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
But man, that car is so good. Like it changes direction so well. Once you have it loaded up in the corner, like it has so much grip.
Nice.
I got it to kick out a little bit a couple of times, but it was so. I mean, you remember when I drove it before at High Plains, and it was just immediate. Like you can get it to move around, and it's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, it is a very Ian compliant vehicle.
I love that car. So much.
I think your built-in like nerve endings and driving style and all that stuff, I think dovetail very nicely into that car.
It does. It suits me really, really well.
Yeah.
That track was super fun too because it was very tight. There was a couple of really tight corners, some fun like S's and stuff, and then another thing that plays to my strengths: potholes everywhere. So there was a lot of like.
Oh my God, this is like it's made for you.
I know, right? There was things on the surface that you had to avoid, but then I actually kind of liked it because it became like, I would use them as visual markers.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Like there was one pothole that I aimed for as my braking zone, and then I would turn in to avoid it. And it was like right at the perfect turn-in point. There was another part where there was like two corners that if you took it right, you could link them.
Okay.
To make it like basically like a double apex instead of like two cornering events. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you could keep the car like loaded up through both of them. And there was like a sinkhole on the outside, and it was like, well, if I just feel the car dip, then I know like I've let the car run out just enough to make the next like.
Okay.
it was kind of fun to play with the deteriorating track as breaking references and like visual references. So, yeah.
Boy, yeah, it's like they took a little bit of Denver and gave it to you there.
Yeah, yeah. All your training of avoiding potholes in your R32.
Right? Yeah. They should have just made you fill the car with Cheerios and like some Hot Wheels cars rolling around in the back and you would have been set. Yeah, just like home. Yeah.
Yeah. Buckle in a car seat.
Yes, yeah. Putting Bluey on an iPad.
Exactly.
Nice. Ian, that's so awesome, man. That's so great.
Yeah,
do you think you're going to be able to do any other track days before you have to leave?
I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen, but yeah, it was a blast to do it that one.
Nice.
Do that one. Yeah.
Nice.
But I am very excited to hear about how autocross went for you. I mean, I've been talking a lot.
No.
Me.
No, yeah. Autocross was great. It was a weird course. Let me see if I can pull it up. I think I have it in my photos library here. So let me see if I can snag it real quick and get it into the feed here. Yeah, boom. Here we go. So here's the course map. This is autocross number 3 with the BMW Club. Out there, we had kind of like a start, like a big sweeping right-hand start. And then I guess this is called a wallum instead of a slalom, where they have small walls of cones instead of just a single cone. I'd never heard that term before. But these cones were only the last cone of one of the, like the first gate of the wallum to the beginning of the second cone was only 60 feet. And this whole back half of the course was just, for me, nothing but acceleration until like all the way to this like very sharp turn. And the map here, they actually sharpened this up on the day of the event. So it was like, yeah, it was really boxed out. But I had to shift into third and then back into second because
you made it to third? I
did. I was bouncing off the rev limiter, which I thought previously in my car was 54 to 55. I think it's 59 to 60. One person, like one of the fastest people that always shows up, posted a photo. They hit 93 effing miles an hour on this back straight.
Whoa.
Which they're in an Audi TT RS, and they're an insanely fast driver to begin with. But it's like, okay, that might be a little too fast for autocross.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So course times for this, the super fast people were in the 50s. A couple people, I think one person posted a 49 point something. But most people were in the really fast folks were in the 50s and 51s. I got down into the 55s, which for that size of course, I was pretty happy with. Yeah, it was a good day. Yeah. A lot of cloud cover. I worked early setup, so I didn't really have to do much. I didn't have to work cones or anything. I love doing the early setup stuff. And yeah, it was a good day, man. Yeah. Awesome. 3 runs in the morning and then 5 in the afternoon. Weather held off the entire time. Yeah. I was messing a lot with the live streaming stuff. Couldn't really get that to work too well. So
did you see I left a comment?
Yes. Kelly told me that you left a comment. Yes. To let some air out of the Mustang's tire. Yes. Yes. So yeah. And the guy with the classic Mustang was next to me again. He was running, I think, 54s, and his first gear tops out over 60 miles an hour. So he was getting into second.
So does he normally just first gear?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's wild.
And so do some of the Corvettes there if the course is tight enough.
Wow. Okay.
Right? Which is crazy to think. Yeah. Yeah. Especially for you and me who have cars who like top out at like 22 miles an hour in first gear or something like that. Right.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It would feel not right to do
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would be so afraid. Right. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That Mustang, you were so close. It is a 69. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot to mention Chad from the Lemons team came down just to ride along, and so he rode with me twice. He rode with Robert is the guy that has the classic Mustang. He rode with Robert once. He rode with, I think, one other person, and then Jeff, who I think I showed you his car. It's or you've seen it. It's that sweet 3 Series wagon that is out there.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Because I think Chad had to leave like right as the second heat was starting, and he was like, "Who should I ride with?" Like we were in the first heat, and he was like, "Who should I ride with?" I was like, Jeff's usually pretty entertaining on cold tires. Like, he's going to be pretty sendy out of the gate, so he might be your guy. And so, yeah, he had a great time riding with Jeff for sure. So, yeah, big shout out to Jeff and Hannah. Great seeing them again for the first time this season. And yeah, it was awesome. And thank you so much, Chad, for coming down to ride. It was awesome. Yeah. His truck is running great, by the way. The supercharger is like just really chooching along. Yeah. So he's going to put the piggy back in at some point, but yeah, for now, everything's running great, super reliable, which is so awesome for a 27-year-old truck that you just bolt an effing supercharger onto.
You're right.
Yeah. But it's all Toyota stuff. So it's like, yeah, it's like when you build those, and I mean, you and I haven't done this, but we see those videos of like people that will build like the ultimate Windows 95 gaming PC to play like the, Wing Commander and stuff as good as it could have been played back then. It's like, like you're building classic stuff out of classic stuff. And it like, yeah, it all works,
Just works.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it was an interesting time there. There was one kind of sketchy turn on the course. Here, let me pull that back up. So coming down this way from north to south, this turn right here was pretty sharp, and you carried a bunch of speed here. Right. Yeah, and the grid was right here. So a few people ran off into the grass here trying to make the turn. This is also where a lot of folks park their trailers when they trailer a car in. And one person in a Fox body Mustang completely locked their brakes and actually kind of came into the back of the grid at like, I don't know, maybe 40 miles an hour. Like it was pretty scary. Yeah. So they lost control of the vehicle and quickly realized like they're a newer driver, but yeah, thankfully no one was hurt. Like that was the most sketchy thing that I've seen. And I was I was parked down towards the end of that grid. It was like, oh yeah.
Right.
And so like everybody kind of ran after that Mustang, and I just ran straight north to the guy whose name is Jeff, the guy that has the Formula Mazda. I think you've seen out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he and his son have the Formula Mazda. Yeah, so he was working that corner, and like of course there were like cones everywhere, and they red flagged the course, of course,
Yeah.
And so I made sure he was okay, and then we just started like trying to find cones, and like carry them over from wherever they were and reassemble a corner as fast as we could. Yeah.
It's always a Mustang.
Hey, I didn't think about that until now, but right. Yes. Yeah. No, I'm glad everyone was okay. That's the closest call. The other one was that one at the Porsche club where that person just like, they quit halfway through their run and pulled back into the grid at like 30 miles an hour. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Like right in front of me and another guy that I was talking to. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So, super fast course. Good time. And, so I had wrapped up a bunch of work on the Nuggie right before the event. I did an electric fan on the oil cooler. I don't know if I have a picture of it. I'll have to see. And yeah, what else did I do? Yeah, electric fan on the oil cooler and adjustable sway bar links, so I could get like a little bit more stiffness out of the front. And I think it worked well. I'm going to tweak the sway bars a little bit more and add a little bit more spring to the front, the adjustable links, and yeah, just to try to dial out a little bit more body roll up front.
Nice.
Yeah, I was having a little bit of a problem getting the rear to unstick this day. So it's probably because the car was not pitching as much, right? With that sway bar link, like stiffening everything up on that front corner. So I kind of need the rear to unstick. So I might go.
That's the trade-off though, right? If if you are stiffer in the front, it's going to change the balance and make it harder to get it to oversteer.
Right.
Which is why I think a lot of people for front drive setups, they leave the front pretty soft and then we'll
stiffen
make
up the
rear as hard as possible.
Right.
To get it to rotate.
My fenders are hitting the wheels though, or hitting the tires though. So I think maybe I'll just put like a spring block spacer in, or a spacer into the shock, like between the bump stop, to like, so that it doesn't bottom out, so that the spring rate stays the same, but like it just doesn't bottom out as much. Like, yeah, I don't know. I have pictures of my car, like with the fenders actually making contact, and you can see some little kind of burny marks on the fender where it's starting to cook the vinyl and the paint. Mm. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to prevent. And these are 16-inch wheels. Like, I'm not running huge wheels and tires. So I'm running like theoretically the stock size, just a little bit pushed out. And I've rolled the fenders as much as I can. Like, I even kind of effed up the passenger side fender. Like, it doesn't look great, but yeah. So like, I pushed that sheet metal out as far as I could. So I don't want to have to like wide body kit that thing, So
I mean, wide body Fiat 500 would be pretty awesome.
It would be. Like, I have looked at those like fender things. So I don't know. I don't really want to cut up fenders. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Stiffen it up then.
Yeah. And then just kind of figure out how to deal with less oversteer. So I don't know. Yeah.
Or just put like crazy hard springs in the back.
Yeah. I was wondering about that. Yeah. Like, and just run like maybe like 38 PSI in the rear just to like dome up the tires a little bit. So I may end up doing that. I'm already running the smaller width wheels on the back. So yeah, I'm a reverse staggered car.
Really funny.
Yeah, right. 8 inches up front and 7 in the back. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But that's the whole fun, right?
Yep.
Like figuring all this stuff out. Like you said, like I've thought a lot about what you said last time, where you were like, man, you have this car in such a good place. Like, and like I was too close to it. I didn't even realize it, Yeah. And you're completely right. Yeah. Like, if this is the point that I'm just kind of like tweaking these little things, and like I have time to like mess with like trying live streaming setup stuff, and the oil cooler fan is like working super well, and like kept like my oil temperatures were like under 180 degrees like all day, like 5 runs in the afternoon, like it probably hit like close to like 85, 90 degrees out there. And like the oil temperatures were just perfect,
That's great.
So yeah.
The only thing that I wish for you is that you had some like, I think this is the drawback. The drawback to me for your situation, especially with autocross versus circuit driving, is that your track changes every time.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So you don't really know if you're truly getting better or not, right?
I mean, I think you can tell like, oh, this sort of corner, it's behaving this way or whatever, but like you don't have like a really solid baseline, like, hey, I'm running within a second of my best time or whatever.
Right.
That's repeatable. Like you could if you went to High Plains or something, right?
You're exactly right. So in Excel, I have like my own like internal packs, like, and great, like kind of curve that I'm grading on. Like, so like a few of the like super consistent people. One is Jesse, who is the chairperson. They have, decades of autocross experience in the Toyota MR2. So like event to event, I compare my time percentage wise, not actual time difference, percentage to his, to see if I'm closing the gap or widening it, to see if I'm like getting closer to what Jesse can do on the course or further away. And then I have like 2 other people, one Tamara in the Mini Cooper S Works, and then a guy in a Corvette that is also super consistent. So I'm kind of like, I'm comparing my percentages to them, and like, doing a little bit of like data science there to try to figure out like if I'm making like, because last season there was a course that I like straight up did not vibe with, and my percentages like dipped for how I compared to them, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, but you're right. You know, it's the inconsistency of it is a drawback, you know, like, which is why that test and tune event is so fun. Cause I got 16 runs at that last year.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you're right. That is definitely a trade-off with autocross that you have to make, that it is different every time. So
it'd be nice at least if they did the same course every year for test and tune.
Right. Yeah. Or maybe like the exact same course as the first event of the season and the last event of the season.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Right?
Yeah. Just to do it. Yeah. Just to have some sort of and obviously I know like someone's going to be like, well, temperature and weather.
Sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I've talked a bunch of times before about how you can like just the same day cloud cover versus no cloud cover.
Oh yeah.
And you can start to tell a difference when the tires get greasy and all that. But you know, at least you're in the ballpark, right? You can kind of figure out, and especially when you're in your situation where you're just like chasing incremental things and you're not entirely sure that what you're doing is making things better or not.
You're exactly right.
Because you could have a situation where you're going to improve your turn in, but maybe your speed at the apex is going to be less.
Right.
Your grip at the apex will be less. Right.
Right.
Like, there's trade-offs. That's the zone you're in. So you need some sort of like consistent thing to compare to.
You're right. Yes. And you can't do any of that with street driving. Like you can't get anywhere close to like kind of that level of decision making, you know? Yeah.
No, you're in the zone of street driving where you're like, this is a great handling car.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And anything beyond that sort of distinction is like you're going to jail.
Yeah. Illegal, completely unsafe. Absolutely. Yeah. No, you're exactly right. Yeah. There are those like the things that like, and you can't do this over and over like the same day or anything, or if you did, like people would notice. But like there are those like certain entrance ramps where you're like, okay, like I know, like previously I was able to take this one at, you know, like 51. Today I got 53, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Some stuff like that. But like, you can't do that like 12 times in it, you know, in an hour or so. Like the cops will definitely show up.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, no, you're right. It's a weird thing, but dude, I'm thankful for the car. I'm thankful for how well the events are run at the club, with the BMW club. They do such a good job in like prioritizing, you know, getting, you know, keeping the events moving and working through their kinks. If like there's a live timing kink or something, they sort it out pretty quick in the grand scheme of things. So, you know, I've seen people get impatient in the grid and like, you know, like kind of yell at the grid people. And, you know, I'm not a fan of that. That always makes me upset because everybody is truly like making a really good effort to keep things moving along. And they as a club do a very, very good job. So
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And there's some great people out there. I've met a lot of fantastic people. So yeah. And my nemesis, Joel, who should be dual driving with me at the next event. So I got to check in with him and make sure we're still on. So yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. But, yeah, so there you go. Autocross, buddy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else we got?
Yeah. What else do you want to do today?
I do want to give a shout out because we were talking about some old technology. I want to talk about two things really briefly here. Our dear buddy Dana down in Florida sent us, an article from the Autopian. Let's see here. It is here about how somehow modern German warships are still using 1970s era 8-inch floppy drives for their systems on board. It's none of the weapons systems. It's like the control systems, and Saab is involved. our dear buddy Saab. So Saab makes a lot of the control systems for warships, including like tons of modern warships. And so they're still using like an 8-inch floppy drive on this warship. So we'll put a link in the YouTube description. It's a really interesting read. I learned a few things about like some vintage technology that even I didn't know about. Like, do you know about like for like people really into vintage computing? This is nothing new to them, but it was news to me. Like floppy drive emulators. Have you heard of these?
I have heard of those. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
They're really interesting. I don't know how they work at all, but it is interesting.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot. I mean, I don't think people realize the degree to which there are lots of very important things around the world that are still running on 1970s computing technology.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was in the military, so there's a bunch of military stuff that is still out there that's was programmed in COBOL or assembly or whatever, and they still have to train people on how to do that stuff.
Right.
It's pretty wild. I mean, if you just think about it. I mean, think about it in terms of cars, right? It'd be like, okay, hey, welcome to this shop. We're going to work on everything from Model A's up into Teslas.
Right.
And everything in between.
And you have to keep them going.
And you have to keep them going. You have to maintain all of them. We have a fleet, and that's our whole fleet.
Yeah.
And you have to maintain all of them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the breadth of technologies that you might have next to one another.
Right.
Think about like an Air Force mission, right? Where you might have like an F-22 Raptor.
Right.
And like a C-130 or an AWACS or one of those from like the 60s or 70s, or B-52 from the 50s. Like it's wild how they have to keep all that shit going, because they don't get upgraded.
No. Yeah. What was the thing? Because they were going to take the A-10 Warthog out of service a little while ago, and it got an extension to continue running.
Yeah, because there's one airplane that does what it does.
Exactly. Yeah, and it just so happens to be like when they figured it out, like they nailed it the first time. Like it's right. It's so insanely effective. Like you can't design something, Yeah. So this is a really fascinating article. Yeah. I have only seen a few 8-inch floppy drives. I've never used one myself.
Same.
Yeah. I've been in the presence of them, and that's about it. Yeah. But dude, Saab is doing some serious shit out there. Yeah. Saab surface vessel.
Yeah, of course they are.
Yeah. I knew that they were doing a lot of like mapping and logistics stuff, but I didn't know that they were doing like actual like combat vehicle stuff. So,
right.
I just hope they don't have any direct ignition cassettes in any of these, because you will lose the battle.
Clutch cable snapped again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, minesweeping vehicles. Yeah, so Saab is doing some wild stuff out there. So
crazy.
Yeah, but thank you, Dana, for sending that. Yeah. And then we...
what didn't get taken down by CrowdStrike?
What's that?
8-inch floppy disk.
No, you're exactly right, dude.
No cloud updates for that.
Nope. CrowdStrike proof. Yeah. And also like the entire, basically like, I don't know, just think of just about any computer virus. Yeah, it's pretty much immune to that.
Yeah. Security through obscurity is a real thing.
It is. Try mining Bitcoin on that shit. Can you imagine a hacker that gets into that, like thinking that they're accessing like some supercomputer and realizing they have like a whole net of like 6 megahertz of power?
Right.
Yeah, you can mine on a TI-81 faster than you could like this warship, motherboard. Yeah.
Literally kilobytes of RAM.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, so yeah. And then we do need to, let me pull up my my Apex adjacent current show folder here. We got to send a get well to our buddy Johnny because he made contact during one of his circle races, wheel to wheel with another car, and he broke his hand again.
Oh.
So here's the break. Johnny, sorry that we're sharing your PHI on the podcast.
Violation.
We assume that you've signed the consent forms, the Apex adjacent consent forms.
Yes, as do all of our listeners.
Yes.
We've been collecting medical data on all of you for years now.
And turns out we all have some problems.
Yeah.
And all of this highlighted stuff up here on the higher side up in the pinky, that's from previous injury. He's got some,
I was going to ask.
Yeah, some surgical repair hardware in there. So Johnny, we hope you get well soon, buddy. Heal up, please. So,
oof.
Yeah.
That looks painful.
Yeah, right. But yeah, thank you for letting us know. And certainly, definitely heal up. So there you go. Yeah, man.
Should we do a license plate game?
We need to do a license plate game, and then I got to get an album of the week out of you, buddy.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Opening the Ian Don't Look folder, license plate game. Ian, this one is called I Don't Want to Know.
Okay.
Okay?
All
right. Here you go, Ian. I really don't want to know. Here we go. I didn't need this information on these plates.
All right.
I don't need to know this about these owners.
Okay. All right. So we've got a Jeep. What do we call those?
The little Renegade, buddy.
Renegade.
Yeah.
I wanted to say Compass, and I was like, no, it's not. It's better than the Compass.
Yes.
It's the Renegade. Delightful little cars.
Yeah, I like the Renegade. I drove it through the mountains.
It's the Fiat.
Yeah.
It's the Fiat, right? It's the Fiat 500L underneath or something, right?
X.
Or Fiat 500X, yes.
Yeah, and it has like the Abarth engine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great little car.
Yeah.
GMC Terrain.
Yeah, you know.
And then a Tesla Model Y, it looks like.
Yeah, Model Y, I think, yes.
Okay, and then the plates. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I'm obese, gassy, and stiff.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man.
I don't need to know any of that about any of these people.
Is tough.
I'm already all of those things on my own. And not like in a hot way.
I'm obese.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So my first thought is that gassy goes on the Tesla because this is like an annoying, I drove an electric car thing, which we should all do. Sure. But come on.
Yeah.
Like I find, and we're in the season now of this being the most true, but like people who are annoying that you agree with are like, they're way worse, right? Like it makes me more angry, I guess I should say. Like for me, I get more angry at people that I agree with but are obnoxious about it.
Right.
Because it's like, well, just like,
isn't being right about the thing enough?
Right. And also you're making me look bad because now I have to like defend you and just don't be a dick, you know? Like I think the people who are wrong about things are dicks on their own just because they're wrong about it. So like anyway, okay.
Just a field of dicks.
Yeah. Oh man, this is so hard. Can we do some zoomies and enhances?
Absolutely. Here you go. We got the Jeep.
Oklahoma plates.
It is an Oklahoma plate. Yep. And it's
David
like
Stanley.
that pinkish orange color, which is not a bad color for this car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know that dealership.
Oh yeah, David Stanley. Okay.
I used to test drive cars from there every once in a while.
Uh-huh.
Back in my younger days when I lived there. It's like maybe some
Yes.
like moving boxes or something in the back. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, me neither. It's hard to tell.
Hmm.
Yeah. Some stuff back there.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. The terrain.
Ooh, we've got a Harley Davidson sticker.
Yeah, like a small Harley Davidson sticker above the rear windshield wiper. Like
And it
almost
has
to
a
the point. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Almost to the point of like you are putting a sticker in a place that is like pretty hidden already. So like, why is it even there? But go on.
Well, it also has a tramp stamp.
It does. Like. It does. It has that tailgate pinstripe tramp stamp. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Uh-huh. And then the Tesla.
A Colorado EV plate.
Yep.
Not much else to go on. White. Oh man, this is tough. Okay. I'm just off of vibes. Like,
yeah, that's what you need to operate off of.
I think it goes. Oh, but gassy with Oklahoma because they do a lot of oil and gas there too. Oh, I'm going to talk myself out of this. And the Harley sticker is kind of throwing me for a loop too.
Okay, why?
Well, I mean, the Venn diagram of obese people and Harley riders they're not two distinct circles. There's some overlap there.
Right.
But also people who would proclaim themselves to the world stiff, who ride Harleys. That's nearly a fucking circle, I think. Right. So I think I'm obese goes on the Jeep.
Okay.
I think stiff goes on the terrain. And I think gassy goes on the Tesla.
Okay.
My first thought before I saw the Harley sticker was to flip the terrain and the Jeep. That stiff would go on the Jeep. But I think the Harley sticker.
That seems more stiff than obese to you?
It seems more like midlife crisis-y, where stiff becomes a thing that you need to tell people.
Right. Like all of a sudden, like we don't need to know that your doctor gave you Viagra. We don't need to know that.
Right. Yeah. I think I'm going. I don't think I'm missing anything, like any puns on the cars or anything. Yeah, I'm going with that.
Okay. Ian, here you go, buddy. You got the Tesla right, but
okay. I was right the first time.
Yep.
My first instinct was right.
Yep. Stiff on the Jeep for some reason. Our buddy Jeff. Yeah, I think this is in the batch of first plates that he sent through. Thank you, Jeff, for sending that through. Steven, our dear buddy Steven, sent me that I'm obese plate a while ago. And I've been looking for like two other plates that like really kind of like, I don't know, like I had that visceral of a reaction to. And then, then Gassy, our dear friend Mark. Yeah.
This is a great one.
Thank you. I wanted to get, the title is, I don't want to know. I don't want to know any of this information. I don't want to know any of it.
Oh my God. That's really funny.
Right. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. Thank you, folks, for sending those in. Jeff, Stephen, and Mark. Super appreciate it.
Oh my God. So excellent.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. Ian, let's talk music, buddy. I just zoomed in on I'm obese Cassius. Yeah. Yeah, let's talk some music.
Okay. So there's been a few things over the last week that have happened. And like I had to drive 10 hours and kind of psych myself up. I had my first track day in like a year, and I had to like psych myself up. And then, in the news, there's also been kind of a let's fucking go moment in the last few days, right? When Joe Biden dropped out, and now Kamala Harris is in, and everybody seems very amped and like, okay, let's do this, right?
Yeah, we're doing this, right?
And so I just wanted to pick an album that has a song on it that I kind of is like one of my go-to, like, okay, let's go.
Okay.
Songs, because I feel like that's the moment we're in.
Sure.
So Parquet Court's Sunbathing Animal. The song in particular is Black and White. It's like one of my favorite Parquet Court songs, one of my favorite songs of the last several years. I love it.
What's the name of the album again?
Sunbathing Animal.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay.
Yeah. The song Black and White, man, so great.
Okay.
It'll like, if you don't get amped up by that one, then there's
then you're dead. You're dead.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, listen to this, get excited, go knock on some doors, and get people out to vote.
Yeah. There you go. Absolutely. I like that. Yeah. You need a shot of adrenaline, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's time we get woken up like Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Dave, I think we did a car show.
Yeah, we did.
And my boy's sleepy.
Yeah, your boy hit a wall.
Mm-hmm.
It's so far past my bedtime, Ian.
I know it is. I'm sorry. That's my fault.
No. Yeah.
Everybody, send us your license plates, 720-515-1391, Apex adjacent everywhere else. Come talk to me on Blue Sky. I've been dipping my toe back in the social media waters lately. So come see me on Blue Sky. Yeah, I think that's about it. Everybody, thank you. We love you. Goodbye.